I do not like this painting, Charlie. Smug aura mocks me. It's evil, Charlie.
William Shatner, actor, Raisin Bran spokesman, and part-time singer.
And I think it's gonna be a long, long time till touchdown brings me round again to find I'm not the man they think I am. No. I'm a rocket man. Rocket Man.
We all know William Shatner for his most iconic performance on TV. T.J. Hooker. I'm just kidding. We all know him as the iconic Captain James T. Kirk. But did you know, for any non-Trekkies out there, that he actually directed the 5th Star Trek movie? And did you know that it fucking sucks? In the 1980s, for anyone who knows about 1980s television, you'll be fairly familiar with the fact that televangelists were a pretty big deal. Now, for anyone who doesn't know what a televangelist is, it's essentially a official or self-proclaimed Christian minister, more specifically like an evangelical Christian minister, who would devote a large portion of their ministry to broadcasting on television. You may have known names like Jim and Tammy Baker, Jimmy Swaggart, people like that. And the thing is, a lot of these televangelists, as their careers essentially expanded into the late 80s and early 90s, a lot of them were shrouded in tons and tons of controversies, many of which I am not going to get into because they involve extremely heinous crimes. Shatner saw these televangelists on TV, and he is quoted saying that he found them to be repulsive and strangely horrifying because they would go on television and would, say, if you donate this much money to my church, you will get into heaven. Or if you come to my church, I will heal you from all sicknesses by the grace of God. Basically scamming people by using religion. And that's specifically what Shatner wanted to focus on. Now, you might be saying, well, this sounds a little weird for Star Trek. And to be honest, I'm going to cut Shatner a little bit of slack here. Mainly because the whole God thing was done in the original series. I forget the name of the episode. There's literally an episode where they go to a planet and they literally encounter Apollo from Greek mythology. And I mean, I've watched that episode a handful of times. I can't remember the name of it. But they have encountered godlike entities before in the original series. So this concept isn't really a departure from anything Star Trek. There were many early drafts during the development of this movie. One where, in the end, Kirk confronts God, quote unquote, because it's not God. It's actually Satan in disguise. And Kirk, because William Shatner just needs his moment, saves Spock and Dr. McCoy from getting dragged into hell. And, very interesting concept. But Paramount was kind of like, we don't want to offend anyone, so maybe don't have Satan be disguised as God. However, there were some ideas from that specific script that remained in the final film. There are two problems that are about to arise here. One, Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, didn't like the idea because he was like, he didn't like the idea of the characters searching for any god, just in general. And also, the Writers Guild of America went on strike in 1988 when this movie was still in pre-production. So essentially, all the writers for Paramount couldn't finish up the script, so Shatner just had to be like, okay, well, I guess I'll just shape this in my image. And, well, let's just see how that was. The movie opens up on the planet Nimbus 3, also known as the planet of galactic peace, which is shared between the Federation, Klingon Empire, and Romulan Star Empire. However, this planet of galactic peace, quote unquote, is essentially just a wasteland where crime runs rampant and there's essentially no water or food for anyone in the wastelands. But hope isn't all lost, because we get introduced to a Vulcan who comes over to a resident, I guess you can call him a resident, I don't know, of Nimbus 3, and takes away his pain. How does he do this? Well, we don't know yet, but we'll get to that a little bit later, because we gotta see our boy William Shatner climbing a fucking mountain, because I really don't know.
Greetings, Captain.
Spock! What are you doing in this neck of the woods?
I have been monitoring your progress.
I'm flattered.
So yeah, Spock is on rocket boots for some reason. Anyways, let's get back to Nimbus 3, where we get to see our Vulcan friend and all of his other buddies take over Paradise City, because, you know, this is 1989, and of course they have to make a Guns N' Roses reference. At least I think they were referencing Guns N' Roses. So the Vulcan and his armies of followers infiltrate Paradise City and take representatives from the Federation, the Klingon Empire, and Romulan Star Empire hostage in order to attract either a Federation ship or Klingon or Romulan ship to come to Paradise City and basically procure a starship to find God. Anyways, let's cut to our favorite starship, the Enterprise. And, well, it's not really operating that well. Scotty is basically saying that after the end of Voyage Home, where the ship goes into warp, it basically just fell dead in the water, essentially. Or dead in space. Now, this scene establishes a relationship between Scotty and Uhura. Now, do I think they're a bad couple? No. I think they're a very sweet couple in this movie. But was it necessary to do? And was it completely out of the blue? Oh, that rhymed. Kinda. There was just no, like, teasing it in any other Star Trek movies or even in the original series, if I can recall. So it's kind of just random. And honestly, like, if I'm gonna be honest, like, nothing big transpires from it. It's just like, they're just a couple now, and there you go. As the scene continues on the Enterprise bridge, Uhura and Scotty get a red alert from Starfleet Command stating that the Enterprise needs to head directly to Nimbus 3, even though they're having some maintenance problems. Then we cut back to Kirk, McCoy, and Spock having a nice chat at the fire. And, you know, I have to say, this is a pretty good scene, you know. I hope nothing stupid and random ruins it.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily,
Gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Come on, Spock. Why didn't you jump in?
I was trying to comprehend the meaning of the words.
I didn't know this was a Disney sing-along, but okay. If you have seen this movie, you know that it is much more comedy-driven compared to Voyage Home. Even though Voyage Home had a lot of comedy in it, Final Frontier really, like, wants it to be a fucking comedy. However, it falls flat on its face because 90% of the humor in this movie is like Superman 3 levels of fucking humor. But I will say, we do get some funny moments between the characters.
I could use a shower.
Yes.
He called him Stinky. What the fuck am I doing?
With all due respect, the Enterprise is a disaster. There must be other ships in the quadrant.
Other ships, yes, but no experienced commanders. Captain, I need Jim Kirk.
Oh, please.
Your order.
We cut to a Klingon bird of prey that encounters, I think, the Voyager 1 space probe. I'm pretty sure it's Voyager 1. I can't remember specifically, but it is a Voyager probe. And this scene is the biggest example of how bad the effects are in this movie. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. I don't know if I remember saying this in my Wrath of Khan video, but I'm pretty sure I brought up that Wrath of Khan was going to be a TV movie originally because it had a very low budget. Paramount didn't have a lot of hopes for it because of how much of a failure the motion picture was. However, the effects in that movie, in my opinion, are better than motion pictures, even though they reused some scenes. But even the scenes with new CGI in that movie were fucking great for $12 million, which was essentially nothing at the time, pre-inflation, in today's money. But they were able to take that $12 million and create some amazing fucking effects. But yet in this movie, where they don't have the same effects team as previous movies, it looks fucking horrible. And yet this movie looks more like a TV film than The Wrath of Khan does. So as we continue on, we learn a little bit more about this Vulcan character because Spock strangely recognizes him for some reason. And he tells Captain Kirk and Dr. McCoy that this specific Vulcan could possibly be an old Vulcan who went against the teachings of Surak to basically, shed all humanly emotions, basically just become a logical being. And instead, this specific Vulcan that he somehow recognizes is possibly that Vulcan that went against Surak's teachings. The idea of a full-on Vulcan showing more emotions than Spock, who is half human, is kind of cool. Like, that's another thing I'll give Shatner slack with, because it's an interesting dynamic, You have a full-fledged Vulcan who is showing tons and tons of human emotions, and then you have Spock, who is half human, acting like a robot. Well, I shouldn't say robot, but you get what I mean. Now, since the Enterprise can't use its transporters to send down an away team, they have to use the shuttlecraft. And when they get down to Nimbus 3, they find that there are few checkpoints outside of Paradise City where this Vulcan's men are just staying watch. So now they have to come up with a plan. So maybe they'll come up with some insane espionage plan where they just kind of do some interesting flanking maneuver. I wonder what...
What's that? Damn. She naked. Wow, she naked? What is it? What is it?
Now, I don't know whose idea this was. I don't know if it was Shatner's idea. I don't know if it was Nichelle Nichols' idea to do this, but it's an interesting plan. I'll give it that much. So the Enterprise away team makes it into Paradise City, and they make it into the bar where the hostages from the Federation, Klingon Empire, and Romulan Star Empire are being held up. But then Captain Kirk is just randomly attacked by like a literal cat woman alien. and I don't know if it's just me, but the roaring sound that this alien is making is kind of sounding like James Brown's I Feel Good scream. It then turns out, after this moment, that the planetary representatives have been brainwashed by this Vulcan, who reveals that he goes by the name of Sybok. Once Sybok and his army of followers take over the Enterprise, it's revealed by Spock that Sybok is actually his half-brother. You're probably saying, well, how is that possible? Well, Spock says that Sarek was once married to a Vulcan princess, and the two basically pawn-farred until they had Sybok. Once Sybok makes it to the Enterprise bridge, he reveals his true intentions, that he intends to use the Enterprise to breach an area known as the Great Barrier in the center of the universe, which holds a planet known as Shakari, also known as Eden. While all this is going on, Captain Kirk, Dr. McCoy, and Spock are trying to find a way to take the Enterprise back, and they even try sending out a distress signal to Starfleet Command, which is then intercepted by the Klingon that we saw in that horrible effects clip that I showed before. After the three are caught, Sybok has a personal conversation with the three of them and explains how his powers work, and that he essentially takes the pain away from people and gives them strength in return. In this moment right here, we actually get a fairly redeemable moment in this movie. It's probably the only redeemable quality in this entire movie, because it's the only scene where you actually feel like bad for all these characters. You're like, oh, that's pretty fucking sad. I'm not explaining it well enough, but I'll just let the scene play out with Dr. McCoy specifically.
Your pain is the deepest of all. I can feel it. Can't you? Some kind of trick. Leonard. Father? Oh my God, don't do this to me. I'm here. I'm with you, Dad.
The pain. Stop the pain.
I've done everything I can do. You've got to hang on.
I can't stand the pain. Help me.
All my knowledge, and I can't save him. How can I watch him suffer like this? You're a doctor. Why did you do it? To preserve his dignity. That wasn't the worst of it. No. Was it? No! Share it. Not long after, they found a cure. A goddamn cure!
So if you hadn't killed him, he might have lived.
No! I love my father. I released him!
Then you did what you thought was right.
Yes! No! Yes!
Release this pain. Release it. This pain has poisoned your soul for a long time. Now, you've taken the first step. The other steps we'll take together.
However, this entire scene is ruined by William Shatner going essentially full Shatner. And that's something I think you guys need to understand, that there are two different types of William Shatner when it comes to acting. There's Will Shatner, which is like fairly collected and can, deliver a fairly good scene. But then you also have William Shatner, which is like completely overboard, over the top, just completely disingenuous, and like it just seems like a very like poor performance. He's basically being like, if we don't do that, we will lose ourselves. I need my pain. I need my pain. Mind you, he didn't act like this in Wrath of Khan. It's just like Shatner's acting is just abysmal here. It really is. It completely ruins it because at the end of the day, this is his movie, so he can act however he wants to act. And to tell you just the flat out, complete honesty, it's horrible. Eventually, the Enterprise makes it to the Great Barrier and manages to breach through it, and it's revealed that Shakari is actually real, and now everyone is like, holy shit, we found heaven.
Are we dreaming?
If we are, then life is a dream.
Shut your fucking mouth!
Captain Kirk then has a change of heart and accompanies Sybok along with Dr. McCoy and Spock on the planet's surface to figure out if God is actually here. And after a few minutes, it's then revealed that God is actually here, but can only appear in like this, like, rock structure. Apparently they were going to do like this whole thing with like rock creatures and stuff. I'm pretty sure there are some clips out there, but I'm not going to show it because you can find it yourself because it's just so stupid to watch. It's so bad. But anyways, they find God, but for some reason he makes a very strange request. He wants to use the Enterprise in order to escape from the planet. After Captain Kirk questions this request, he is then attacked by the God, and then Spock is later attacked after he asks the same question, why does God need a starship? Now, this is where the movie really falls apart, because it's just kind of like, okay, so this is not God, or any God for that matter, nor is it Satan, because that got scrapped. So what the hell is this thing? Is it just like some non-humanoid alien, some like primordial being? Like, I don't know. Like, what is this? Like, who is this, Will? Who is this, William? Who is this entity that isn't God or Satan in disguise? Like, who is this? We'll never know, because it's never brought up again in any other Star Trek media. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the entire premise of this movie being about the controversy surrounding American televangelism. It is known that televangelists from the 1980s and even today are not the most genuine people and are also pretty vile human beings. Well, I can just give you a few examples. From the 1980s, as I stated previously, Jim and Tammy Faye Baker. In 1989, Jim Baker was convicted on 24 counts of fraud and conspiracy for misappropriating millions of dollars from his followers. And then in today, I don't know if he's still alive, but according to information, when he got out of prison, he actually went back to doing that exact same thing and got in trouble for it again. We also know Jimmy Swaggart, who was part of Assemblies of God, whose multi-million-dollar television program basically got destroyed after he was caught in a major sex scandal. Oral Roberts, in 1987, he would basically say that God was calling him home, basically saying that he was going to die, unless his congregation raised $4.5 million. And guess what? It didn't actually go to any sort of medical funds or anything like that. It just went into his pocket. If you want some more modern examples, Joel Osteen, who is the leader of the Lakewood Church in Texas, back during Hurricane Harvey, where many Texans had to evacuate from devastating floods, he refused to open his 600,000 square foot facility to house these people. Another example, Kenneth Copeland. During COVID-19, he sparked backlash for living a extremely lavish lifestyle because he was basically taking donations from his congregation and putting it into his pocket. Even some more examples that aren't even listed here, where you have other televangelists being accused of extremely vile crimes. I'm not going to sit here and say that Shatner wasn't coming from like a genuine place in his heart to basically like spread a message that, hey, a lot of these televangelists aren't doing it in the name of God or because they care about their community. They're doing it just so they can take money from you and put that money in their pockets and live a lavish lifestyle. And that's why the movie sucks. It falls flat on its face because of its ending. Who is this entity supposed to be? How is it supposed to represent how televangelists can be disingenuous people? Like, it's so confusing in the end. I don't really understand after watching this movie like 1,000 fucking times leading up to this video why this entity randomly morphs into like a version of Cybok. Like, what does that have to do with the overall message on televangelism in the United States? Like, what does that part mean, Will? Like, do you want to elaborate on that? No? Oh, okay. Well, and even if Shatner had the slimmest thought of, salvaging the Satan disguised as God concept, then why not look towards Star Trek The Next Generation, where you have a godlike entity basically playing tricks against the entire Enterprise D crew? And I can guarantee you, during like a writer's meeting before the writer strike even began, there was probably a suggestion from some like random writer in the room basically saying, hey, why don't you do that? Could you just imagine being in the writer's room with William Shatner and being the poor writer who possibly brought up the idea of like, oh, what if we incorporated the Q into this movie so it's sort of like a crossover, considering you want to do like, the God thing. Like this is literally what possibly happened in that meeting that day. Bill, I think your idea is very unique, and I have a really good idea. In the new Next Generation show that CBS is doing, maybe we can incorporate like a member of the Q Continuum into this movie, considering you want to incorporate like a godlike entity, and maybe... Kidding me? Are you trying to interject your ideas into my movie? Who do you think you are? You're no director. You're no writer. I'm the only director in the world. I'm the only writer in the world. Do you know who I am? I am William fucking Shatner. How dare you think that you could put your shitty ideas into my masterpiece? You think you're better than me? Like, that's probably what happened in that meeting. Like, I'm honestly expecting a lot of Final Frontier apologists to come into the comment section and be like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're only basing your review on this movie on your own personal feelings of William Shatner. And that's not true. Even though I like him as an actor, I don't like him as a person. But that has nothing to do with my overall feelings of this movie. However, when you consider his egotistical nature and knowing that attitude he has, you really think if he had a budget, if there was no writer strike, if he had a full team assembled to help him out with this movie, you think this would have knocked Voyage Home out of the park? You think this would have knocked The Wrath of Khan out of the park? No, it still would have been shit because Shatner is kind of an asshole. That's not an opinion, that is a fact. It is a known fact that he is not a really nice person. So, if you really want to keep saying that to yourself, just remember, if he did have a team, and you think if he did have this team, a budget, and no writer's strike, this would have been great, I call bullshit. The man is not the greatest person, all right? That is not me basing a review on my own personal opinion. That is me basing a personal idea around a known fact about an actor. I'm probably not making any sense here, but you get what I'm saying. Shatner is an egotist. The man wants to do things his way and no one else's way. That's it. It's his way or the highway. That's it. And so I'm guaranteeing you, if this movie had no problems, it still would have been shit because Shatner would have made the entire set a living hell. Literally, in that little skit I just did that I recorded like months ago, because you can obviously tell because I have a freaking haircut, that probably happened. That probably happened in a writing room. Someone probably brought up the idea of incorporating the Q into this movie, and he was just like, no, fuck you, it's my movie. So defend this movie all you want, it's your opinion, but at the end of the day, if you're gonna try and defend it to me, I am just gonna not listen to that, because it's kind of ridiculous how people try to defend this movie. There's nothing redeemable about it. The entire message around it just basically gets thrown out the window with its ridiculous ending. It's just a stupid movie in general. And that's why I hate it. I would much rather watch Star Trek Nemesis on a 24-hour loop than this. And that movie makes less sense than this one. Right, well, I'm giving myself agita here, so I guess that's the video. See ya.